What's up, my little honeys? And Frank. God, I hate Frank with his multiple names. Damn you, Frank! Welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! 101. If you haven't checked out the rest of the Yu-Gi-Oh! 101, it's all a big series about how to make profit in this little game we call Yu-Gi-Oh! So I do suggest check out the channel, watch the rest of the videos right after this one. In this, as you can tell by the title, we are talking about when to purchase cards. Now, this is not going to give you an exact date where you're going to go, okay, at 2 o'clock I'm going to meet Frank behind the garbage can. He's going to give me a package. I'm going to give him $100. What I'm going to do with that package is I'm going to go over to Bobby. Bobby's going to give me $400 for that package, and my whole day is done. That's not the kind of deals that we're looking at right here. In this video, I'm going to give you general knowledge that you're going to then look at your own locals and area, and then you're going to decide what applies to you as a Yu-Gi-Oh! Seller. Now, the first thing that I wanted to talk about is trends. Trends are very important. Your locals has a trend. You know, by doing some research and by investigating, when people have money, when people are looking to buy, when they buy in large quantities. Is it before or after a ban list? Is it when a set comes out? Are they consistently looking for newer stuff, or are they looking for the older stuff? Is everyone a top tier deck player where everyone wants to buy the top tier deck? Or do they like to play fun decks where the lower price cards need to be in supply? That's the real questions that you have to ask yourself before you purchase anything. What am I going to be selling, and to who? That will tell you when you need to buy. Now, as I was discussing, ban list is a very important time in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Lifespan. Right now, we are experiencing a 3-month ban list, at which point a lot of people are going to have a top tier deck become not so top tier or possibly garbage after a very short period of time, at which point anyone playing that top tier deck will then need something else to play. At which point, you're then able to sell them the other items. Now, in the beginning of a format, a lot of people want to play top tier decks, so you can maximize your profitability by purchasing and making small profit. Let's say you purchase a card for $5. It's a top tier card. You then sell it for $6. That's $1 profit. You then buy another card for $5 and you sell it for $6. That's another $1 profit. Eventually you end up growing and growing and growing based upon just selling the top tier cards. That is when to buy in the beginning. You're looking for the top tier stuff, that way you can sell it quickly. Now, at the end of a ban list, a lot of people have been getting out of the game because they don't like the game at the moment. They don't like the fact that they're losing to the top tier deck, but they don't realize that the top tier deck is not going to be top tier after the ban list. Possibly. Dragons were a weird thing where they became top tier, tier 0 to top tier, tier 1, and yeah, that was horrible. Hopefully the 3-month ban will sort of lift that. I've already seen it. A lot of decks are being played, a lot of decks are winning, but that's a whole other video. Now, once again, once that ban list is ending, you have the opportunity here to, 1, liquidate all top tier assets. Make as much money back on your initial investment as possible. Nobody wants to get stuck with Spellbook of Judgments. Nobody wants to get stuck with hollow dragon cards. You want to get rid of them as quickly as possible, just as an example. However, when buying, you want to look for the cards that are not as expensive right now, only because they're not top tier right then and there. You're looking at those people who are not playing the top tier decks, or maybe who are playing the top tier decks, that have thrown their cards aside that weren't top tier. Then you make an offer, or they make an offer to you, and you purchase them at a reasonable price. The next thing, of course, is events. On a regular basis, right after a huge event, is a great time to buy low. Now, remember, if you do not have an event coming up in the short term, you may be stuck with a lot of the cards that you purchase. Let's say you have a big event, YCS Toronto, in September. If your next big event isn't until January, after a ban list, the possibility of those cards retaining value is completely a dice roll. Not a lot of people have accurately predicted what Konami is going to be putting on the ban list, which means you're pretty much making a dice roll with your money, which is not a good idea. However, you can justify it by saying, hey, you know what, the price was right. However, if you do have an event coming up, that is a perfect time to buy. You have an event coming up, a lot of people are going to need the top tier cards to finish off or complete any portion of their deck, at which point you're then able to make that little small profit by purchasing for $5, selling for $6 at the event. Now, once again, usually when you can purchase at $5, you're purchasing multiples of 5. That way you can justify it to the person that you're buying it from. Hey, you know what? I'm picking up 10. Can I get them for $5 a piece instead of $6 a piece? Then you liquidate all of that and sell it off piece by piece for $6. That's how businesses work. That's how buying and selling works. You buy low, you sell high. The next thing that you have to understand for when to sell is understanding hype. Cards are not that difficult. The game has been around for a very long time. It's pretty obvious when a deck is so overpowered that it's going to make money, at which point you do want to hold on to that stuff. However, when a card or cards are mediocre, kind of cool to look at, kind of a cool deck, it's time to get rid of that kind of stuff when it has hype. Noble Knights had hype for a long time. You know why we knew it was hype? Because a lot of people were playing it, a lot of people wanted it. However, nobody really saw anything decent coming out of it with regards to tournaments. I know some of the regionals, there was a couple guys who played Noble Knights and they were really good with them and they topped, but let's face it, it was because they were a good player and nobody knew what they were doing. When you have that kind of a deck, that is hype. End of story. A top tier deck, you will see multiple of that deck in the top. Let's take YCS Toronto for example. A lot of the decks were dragons. A lot of the decks had exactly the same build. So you're looking at an obvious display of non-hype. A lot of people were talking about how dragons were dead. In fact, they said after the ban list, there was no more dragons, it was all spellbooks. However, that switched it real quick. And you could see the actual hype of Blackwings based upon the fact that only one really good player from Quebec was able to actually top with a Blackwing deck. Probably there was a bunch of other Blackwings. It's not the point. He was the only one that mattered because he was top 4 with Blackwings. Same thing with Mermails. Mermails are so good with the super combo, but Soros Siberian was the one who actually played the deck. He's a good player. Good players play good. So, once again, if you're going to buy, make sure that it is not hype. If you're going to sell, however, make sure it's hyped out the ass and get that profit and make sure that those $2 cards that bump up to $30 are sold before the hype ends. Last but not least of when to buy is when the price is right. When the price is right is whenever you can see the profit before you actually buy the cards. If you have a binder that's full of, $200 worth of cards and you can buy it for about 20 bucks, even if you sell all those cards to a ban collector because every single one of those cards are going to get banned, I'm pretty sure you can make that $20 back. Now that is an extreme example where you're going to make 10 times your money, but let's face it, it probably won't happen as easily as I make it look with Collection Wars. But if the price is right, there is no reason why you wouldn't want to buy right then and there. I preach that if the price is right, I would buy anything because I'm going to be able to see the profit, and if I can see the profit, others will too. Thank you guys very much for watching. Don't forget to go check out the rest of the Yu-Gi-Oh! 101 episodes. Don't forget to check out all of Underworld 6667. Collection Wars is a really great video to watch and see me in action. Thank you guys for watching. Don't make those binder blunders, and I'll talk to you honeys later. Just not you, Frank. 'Cause I'm a fucking man.